dropping shit at the pilot. Niggas be broken, be sobbing, but still talking shit like they violent. Niggas is broke.
If y'all thought I was going to go this week without making a video about Kyrie, you played yourself. While everyone is focused on where he's gonna go, I want to focus on what he does once he gets to his destination. Because I'm gonna be honest, this really just came out of nowhere. After the finals, we were thinking, what should the Cavs do to add to Kyrie and LeBron? We all viewed Kyrie and LeBron as the untouchables, and here we are today, and Kyrie wants out, and LeBron leaving rumors are at their highest. And if anything, I honestly think LeBron is touchable, that the Cavs would trade him. The only reason they aren't is because LeBron has all the leverage over everything with that no trade clause, which honestly I respect him for being smart like that, and he is one of the few, if not the only one, that really does deserve it. But if the Cavs know that he's going to leave, they wouldn't want another 2010 LeBron situation, or a 2014 LeBron situation, or a 2016 KD situation, Jesus Christ, to happen where they're left with no compensation for a guy who would demand so much in return. But nonetheless, Kyrie wants out, and if I'm the Cavs, I would trade him right now. You can't go into next season after this offseason and expect there to be no chemistry issues, and this time, it's gonna go way beyond the hardwood. And if you can't even beat the Golden State Warriors as it is, with everyone on the same page, with the chemistry at its all-time high, how can you beat them now that everything's dysfunctional and Golden State has better chemistry? And also, as we saw with the Butler and the George situation, if you know in the back of your mind that you can't build a championship contender around these guys before their contracts are up, you might as well trade them as soon as possible to get the most out of their value. Just imagine if Paul George was traded last year, or Jimmy Butler, and how much the Bulls would have gotten, or the Pacers. So to me, right now, it's really a no-brainer. Trade Kyrie right now, unless LeBron would waive his no trade clause, which he's already said he wouldn't under any circumstance, and unless you really think you can build a contender around Kyrie in the off season of LeBron's departure, there's no real reason to keep him now. But let me get on track again. When Kyrie is traded, how good of a leader will he be, and can you build a championship team around him? And to me, I think you can build a championship team around him. This man is already a champion, and averaged 25.6 assists, and was 3% away from having a 50-40-90 season last year. And he did all of this as a second option to LeBron. If I'm a team, I would want to see Kyrie paired up with one of these renaissance bigs like Cat or Porzingis, which surprisingly are one of the 4 teams on his list. These guys I feel like would work well with Kyrie being the ball handler, and having these guys to kick out to for a 3, be a pick and roll big, and be an isolation scorer at the same time to take some load off of Kyrie would be pretty amazing. And then I'd surround him with a bunch of defenders, specifically two-way players like Avery Bradley or Trevor Ariza, to hide his defensive flaws and make him focus basically on offense solely. The only problem is Kyrie is 25, which is not old at all, I'm not saying that, but the time frame for Kyrie is just a little bit off. He's not a guy who you can put on, let's say, the Suns and wait for Josh Jackson to develop, because let's say it takes Josh Jackson 4 years to reach his potential or get close to it. Kyrie's gonna be what, 29, 30 years old, and then your time frame to win a championship or become a dynasty would only be like 2 to 3 years, like the Cavs right now, and there's no guarantee that you would be the favorite or even win a championship by then. So to me, he'd be best suited for a team that wouldn't be ready to win a championship next year, but the year after, aka the Minnesota Timberwolves. You have guys like Cat and Jimmy, who to me still have some room for improvement, and I think are patient enough to wait another year to really compete for a championship, and are good enough to really compete for a championship for multiple years to come. And I think just from the time frame alone, Kyrie would fit right in. But his leadership skills are the real concern here, because if he goes to Minnesota, he's not going to be viewed as just another piece to the puzzle. He's going to be viewed as the veteran guy who knows what it takes, a guy who's a champion, And I think even though Jimmy Butler and Cat are more talented players than Kyrie, he'd be viewed as the leader. And the concern is, does he have what it takes, and will he succeed at doing that job? Because again, Kyrie's in a weird part of his career where he's too old to be second fiddle, or at least, you know, that's what he thinks. But I think he's still too young to be viewed as that veteran guy that you can lean on, and I think that's the problem with Kyrie. The good thing about being in a team like Minnesota is there is a lot of room for error. And I think when it comes to leadership, people are giving Kyrie too much of a hard time. His first 2 years, he was 19 and 20 years old and missed 20 plus games each year. So I think just from the age alone, it's already not fair to judge Kyrie. But when you consider he didn't even play those seasons in full and the talent he was around, it's just not a good argument against Kyrie's leadership. And even when LeBron came, I know there's this whole stat floating around that he was like 4-19 when LeBron was out, but what people fail to realize is around 8 to 9 of those games, both Kyrie and LeBron were out, or Kevin Love was out alongside LeBron James. And you know, I did some individual research a couple nights ago. You know, it was a little too late into the night, and I did round the numbers, but this is what I came up with. In the games where LeBron was out, but Kyrie and Kevin Love were playing, they still had a horrible record of 3-11. But he did average 27 points, 6 assists, and 3 rebounds on 45% shooting from the field, including a 55-point game performance against the Blazers. And I know it's still bad that they went 3-11, but we also have to consider his age. In 2015, Kyrie was still only 22 years old. In 2016, he was still only 23, and last year he was around 24 to 25. But last year, after you account for the games where both Kyrie and Love were in while LeBron was out, there were only 2 games. And even though they lost both games, 2 games is way too small of a sample size to judge Kyrie's leadership. And I think after the 2016 finals, I think that really increased. And for people to judge his leadership off of 2 games, I just think it's not fair. And then you consider the fact that outside of Kevin Love, none of their supporting cast would really work well with Kyrie. Guys like Iman, Korver, Fry were brought in to work in synergy with LeBron and not Kyrie. The sample size is either way too small, he was too young, and the talent wasn't built for him. So to me, this whole notion that Kyrie's a terrible leader is just blown a little bit out of proportion, but I don't blame people for thinking that. Me personally, I think he can be a good leader. He's only 25, but he's been to the finals 3 times already. That's more playoff experience than most veteran stars can say, including guys like Chris Paul and Carmelo, who have been in the league for a decade plus now. He's literally learned from the best, always spoke highly of LeBron, and talk all you want about LeBron and how he put Cleveland in this position and how he choked and how much of a terrible player he is, all of this stuff. He is a terrific leader, and Kyrie's been playing under his wing for 3 years now. So to me, give him the right pieces and give him a year or 2 to get used to that leadership role, and I think he can be the best player on a championship team in terms of being the leader. He may not be the most talented, but I think he can be a leader of a championship team, similar to that man Paul Pierce in 08. But with that being said, man, I hope y'all enjoyed this video, and I am out. Peace.